Welcome to the Say It Out Loud podcast. I'm your host, Vasavi Kumar. If you're eager to gain clarity, speak with unwavering confidence, and liberate those inner voices, you're in the perfect spot. My mission here is to empower you to break free, find fulfillment, and ignite your passion. You ready? It's time to say it out loud. I've put together a guide of my top 10 tested and proven to work practical strategies and habits to help bright women like you say no, set your boundaries right, live confidently, and build healthy relationships, starting with the relationship you have with yourself. This is a self-paced guide, and I can't wait for you to dig into it so you can start becoming your most confident self, because she's in there waiting for you. Head to the link in my show notes or go to vasavikumar.com/guide and grab it today. Okay, everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Say It Out Loud podcast. I am super excited today because I'm with a friend of mine, James Williams, and I wanted to bring him on here because he has helped me personally in my own life on a few occasions where I have called him up crying. And I think it's important that y'all really hear what James has to say on a lot of things, but specifically, I wanted to bring him on because of how much he has helped me when it comes to my own relationship to money and how I view money. And there are other things in addition to that James and I are going to talk about today. But, for me, when I feel like I can go to someone and when I can put aside my pride and say to somebody, hey, I need your help, I need your perspective, and the person that I'm going to welcomes me with such open arms, I know that they're a good human being, because it's very hard for me to put aside my pride and say I need help. And James is just such a beautiful human being who has helped me, like I said, on multiple occasions, just get out of my own shit when it comes to money in these past few months. So I want to welcome you here, James. Thank you so much for being here on the Say It Out Loud podcast. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. You're a beautiful person inside and out too, and it's this is what our community is all about, right? Is being around amazing, authentic people that just want to do good, and on that journey we have our struggles, and that's okay, right? And we're here to support each other.
Well, I want to start off with one of the most, recent ways that you've been able to help me, and then we can kind of see where this conversation goes. I called you up, or I think I might have texted you a few months ago, and I said, James, I want to sit and I want to look through all my 90 days worth of finances, 6 months worth of, billing statements, and I want to make a budget and do all this. And you were just like, you don't have to do that. And I'm like, wait, what? Because you forget, I'm the daughter of a CPA. So that's where my mind goes. My mind goes to, I got to look at the past 90 days worth of financial statements. And you said one thing to me. I wish I could pull up the text right now. I probably can. But you said one thing to me, and you just said to me, every time you're about to make an investment, I just want you to pause and ask yourself, is this investment, is the money that I'm spending investing into my future? And I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the way you said it, or maybe because I was just desperate for, I needed something to shake up my mindset, because the way I was thinking was not helpful. But that one little piece right there, Vasavi, just pause from here on out. And I love that, because as a, retired therapist, I have a tendency to look at the past and ask, how did I get here? And you gave me such permission to be like, no, from here on out, I just want you to pause before you spend anything and just ask yourself, is this investing into my future? So I would just love to hear more, just how you think about money, because go for it.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because the answer is probably different for everyone, because I think it is good to look back and measure those metrics, right? But I think from where you were coming at, you were stuck in the past. And that's a really common thing for people. In fact, most of the world is either spending a lot of time in the past or a lot of time in the future, right? And, the only time we can actually make a really good decision is here, in this moment, in the present. And so I think for me, my relationship with money has changed a lot. I grew up with a very typical family that was, don't ever get in debt, only spend what you have, pay your credit cards off every month, which is seems like a really sensible thing. But if you want to grow and scale anything, whether it be money or strength or emotional wellness or health, anything that's greater than we are currently experiencing means stepping into something that you don't have the ability to hold, right? So if I want to get fitter, I have to work out harder, which means I'm going to get more exhausted. I don't currently have the energy and the fitness to work out harder. So I have to go further into it, which is an investment in my energy that initially I don't have, right? So I feel to me, money is just another form of energy, right? Anything in my life that I would like to have more energy around, more money around, more health around, more fitness around, I understand that I have to be conscious about the investment of energy into that thing, right? So if it is getting fitter, then I'm going to say, okay, well, there's no point in me wasting a load of money or a load of energy in something that I have to put tons of energy into, and it's not going to get me the fitness back quickly enough. There's got to be ROI, and as a CPA mindset, you'll understand ROI, right? So everything's ROI, and we could take that from a money perspective. We could take that down to something as simple as I'm going out and I want to get a coffee from Starbucks, right? And there's nothing wrong with the coffee. It's like, well, why am I getting the coffee? Is this an investment in my happiness today? Or, am I bored and I'm just kind of want to just spend money for the sake of it? Or Netflix, right? Am I watching Netflix because I'm struggling with stress and I need something to distract me to bypass the emotion? Or is there something on Netflix I actually want to watch? So for me, it's like an intentionality around where my energy goes, whether that energy is money or physical energy. It's an intentionality. Why am I putting energy into this thing, and what is the ROI for me?
That's such a great way of looking at anything, right? And it's funny because we talk about intentionality with so many other areas of our life, but when it comes to money, we just look at the number in our bank account. And I have struggled with this. Y'all, I'm telling you right now, I have looked at the number in my bank account and been like, this is it. This is all I have. And I'm like, wait a minute. Do not allow the money in the number that you see to have so much control over you. And I'm going to ask you this because I know I'm not the only one thinking this, right? So let's just talk about a real life example. Someone opens up their bank account. They have, let's just say, $80 in their bank account. Okay. And they're like, what the heck? I've been working. How do I only have $80 in my bank account? Like, that could totally just spiral you downwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's interesting about that conversation you're having with yourself there is that there is $80 in your bank account. And is the problem going to be, if it's a problem, is getting more money into your bank account going to happen by sitting in that past room, figuring out how you got there? Or is it, what action can I take now moving forward to get more money in my bank account?
James, you just have a way, of just cutting through the chaos that is our mind. And it's what I love about how you talk about it is just so, it's like, what is the point of staying in the problem? Is this actually helping versus what can I do to actually have more of what I want? I mean, because this is a Say It Out Loud podcast and I am very transparent with my audience, just 2 weeks ago, I got into a car accident. It cost a certain amount of money for me to get my car fixed. I called you up and I was like, I need a few minutes to talk to you. And I just kind of started crying and I was shaming myself. And I will never forget what you said to me. I was shaming myself and I was saying, I'm Indian. I have an Ivy League education. I'm 40 years old. I shouldn't be in this situation financially right now. And I was just spiraling. I mean, I don't know if I shared that part with you, but in my mind, that's where my mind goes. I should be farther along. This is the season of my life where I'm really working on that. And I know so many of the women listening to the podcast, this has been an issue for them. It's just how they relate to money. And you said to me, Vasavi, shame is like the lowest vibration. And you said even guilt is better than shame, right? If you're going to pick one, guilt is even better. So I'd love for you to share your thoughts and your perspectives on shame and money and what we can do to start elevating our consciousness around money.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to understand. So one thing I like to think about worry, for example, is worry, like shame and even like guilt, those emotions aren't productive, right? They don't do anything. At the same time, we allow them. Like, don't be ashamed of your shame and don't feel guilty about your guilt. right? It's emotion. You're a human. Allow yourself to have it. When that, and that's energy as well. When that energy gets stuck in you, when you make the shame wrong, the energy gets stuck and you continue to feel it. Instead, it's like, feel it. I feel shame. Why do I feel shame? I feel shame because of an expectation that I've got of myself. The shoulds, right? It's what I call shoulding on yourself, right? Mm-hmm. And then you sort of have that conversation about the shoulds. Well, why should I? Like all of those things you just said, what has any of that information got to do with expectation? Really? Why do you have expectations upon yourself based on where you went to school and your ethnicity and your age and why is that any of that relevant? And how is that useful?
Jesus.
So instead of shoulding on yourself, we move. So that's our reaction, right? We're humans, we have reactions. Now, what's really important is that after a reaction, I said to you about pausing. Now, after a reaction, the one thing I believe in my heart and soul to be true, the only thing we can control in our life, the only thing that we control is our response to life. So what comes after a reaction? Our response. And that is our response ability, right? Our ability to respond. So I've shoulded on myself. I've made up all these stories that made I am responsible for my shame by saying I should. So my response to that can be, okay, well, what is the truth? The truth is, this is my life today. This is the situation. What do I want? And why do I want it? And what's the first step towards getting it? If I'm going in that direction, I'm going to get answers. If I stay in the shame, I'm not moving forward. It's just not a productive place to be. So I honor the emotion and then I lovingly let it go.
Keep it moving.
And respond and say, okay, how am I, Vasavi, going to respond today? I'm going to respond as the best version of me that I can conjure up today and do one thing, even if it's 1% that moves me forward.
Today, I had a moment where I was in a little bit of worry. Actually, since we've spoken, I just want to say thank you so much publicly. Since we've had that conversation about the shame being the lowest vibration, and that was like maybe 10 days ago we talked, right? I can honestly say I've not been in shame for these past 10 days because every single time I say to myself, okay, I don't want to be in shame. Let me just try to be in guilt. Let me at least try to elevate a little bit because it is that conditioning. Daughter of immigrants, we are used to being shamed for everything, right? Like, oh, you didn't do this. Oh, you should have done this. Look at you. Why aren't you, so I'm trying to elevate above the shame. And there's so many people that just swim in shame and it's a very sad, heavy place to be. So since we've spoken, I have been so kind to myself, like so kind. And I literally say it out loud. That's my whole thing. And I'm like, if a friend were to come to me and share what they're going through, and let's say it's similar to my situation, how would I respond? And I'm like, I would never respond with shame. Ever. I would respond with encouragement. I would respond with compassion. I would respond with a creative idea, with empathy. And I'm like, I am worthy of that. I am worthy of treating myself that way. So I just want to say, just even the way in which you speak about it creates such a spaciousness. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And what's really interesting about that whole process that you did for yourself is that, what does that tell you? What people in your past, your relatives and, even generations back have been through is not nice. And what does what you went through show you about how you receive information? Because can you guarantee that anyone is ever going to shame you or not shame you ever again? Can you ever guarantee that you're going to live a life where someone's not going to shame you?
No.
Can't, right? So what does it tell you about your responsibility and your ability to choose how to receive or not receive other people's opinions of you?
It is my responsibility so regardless of how people treat me, we have a responsibility to treat ourselves better than the way we have been treated by those around us.
Yeah. And then that responsibility goes forward to future generations. So there's a responsibility of what is the genetic makeup of future generations going to be based on how you and your generation are treating yourself.
Hmm. This is beautiful.
And it's the
I
same say with parents, right? Like if a parent is showing up, not looking after themselves, shaming themselves, their kids are watching that. And they're saying, oh, that's how I am meant to be when I'm an adult.
hmm Yeah, I think this is a great segue into we do a little bit of rapid fire here, and I want to I there's one thing that I know you and I talked about prior to hitting record that I think we could spend a good amount of time, and I think people really need to hear it. We'll get to that, but I'd love to do a little bit of rapid fire. I know you don't know these questions, so we're just going to have fun with it, James. You ready?
Let's do it.
Okay. What's something that you are absolutely loving these days? Say it out loud.
People, having just moved to Austin and, being someone who loves different types of people and connecting, networking. I love the abundance of incredible people that are around me right now. It was my birthday a couple of weeks ago. I shared a message of gratitude that the one thing I'm so grateful for right now are the people in my life.
Well, I can say when I first met you and your wife, it was, we were in Nita's house and I didn't know who y'all were. She's like, oh yeah, Emily and James. And I just remember we sat down and we just started talking and I was like, you're such a nice, like such a kind human being. I just remember thinking like, just I was like, first of all, you have a great accent. I love your accent, but on top of that, I was like, I can immediately, like, there are certain people that I'm around and I immediately feel like disarmed. Like, there's like, oh, like you could just let it, like, just put down any sort of guard, right? I think I've been working a lot on just dropping any sort of guard or defenses that I have. But you were someone instantly when I met you, there was no, like, I just felt very safe. So, I mean, I can see why you have people around you because you were someone that I think people really enjoy being around your presence.
I appreciate that. And you're the
Yeah,
same. You're an amazing human being. You
thank you.
brighten every room that you're in, Vasavi.
You will say
You
that again.
brighten, you brighten every room that you're in.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. All right. What's something that you can't stand these days?
Judgment.
Okay. You
I
want to
think
say
we're
more?
living in a world right now that would benefit massively from replacing judgment with curiosity, because I don't think we need to all agree. I think that debate and conversation is a wonderful thing,
Yeah.
and different opinions and different ways of thinking are wonderful. And I think that the world, especially over the last couple of years, has become super judgmental,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it's disappointing to me. I would say is the word I'd use, disappointing. And I see hope because I truly believe that there are enough amazing people leading that there is a way of encouraging more curiosity, but judgment is something that I'm not a fan of.
It feels extremely counterproductive and such a it's a for me when when you were talking about our intentionality and how we want to look at money, I see the same thing with judging someone. I look at it as an absolute waste of time. For me, if I'm sitting there judging what someone else is doing, I'm like, I've just wasted my time and energy on something that's really none of my business. It's not my business, and it has zero effect on me. What
Mm-hmm.
other people are doing, you know what I mean? So I love that you're calling that out. Okay, what's something that's made you sad recently?
Something that's made me sad recently. Hmm. Let me try and tap into that.
Hmm.
I think that's made me sad recently. Hmm. I'm not sure if I felt sad very
Okay,
recently.
and that's okay. Maybe you
Yeah.
have. Okay. And everyone, I want everyone listening to this to really just get this right. Like when I bring people on here who are amazing human beings, I want you to see, because I think a lot of times people see people who I bring on here in a very elevated position, right? And I want people to see that you can be successful, whatever that looks like, and you can be vulnerable. You don't have to have this like, I just said this the other day, being professional is so pre-pandemic. Do you know what I mean? Like it is time to let ourselves just be seen and like, hey, I'm feeling this way. You don't
Yeah.
have to say I'm fine if you're not fine. And I want my audience to hear you. And because I know so many people listening, like they want to start their own businesses or they've started their own businesses and there's still that like, ooh, can I really be sharing myself? Can I really share my vulnerable side? And so everyone that comes on here is a role model for that, and an
Yeah, for
example
sure.
of,
No, I
yeah,
agree.
you're brilliant, you're smart, you work with extremely high caliber clients, and you are still being completely in your truth, right? Like you don't have to sacrifice your soul. That's
No.
really what I want people to see. So just okay, so something hasn't really made you sad lately. That's
No,
okay.
sad. I mean, there are other emotions we could talk about if you want me to go there. So, like, what makes me anxious or stressed?
Okay,
Um,
what's something that's made you anxious or stressed these
yeah.
days?
So I think one of the things that so I have an imaginary coin that I hold, which is the coin of the recovering giver.
Mm,
I learned to receive love by giving, right? Because when I was very, very young, I wasn't academically successful in the way that others were, right? My talents, my intelligence didn't fit within the school system, so I was very average in that way. So I learned to receive by being there for people, and it's a coin I hold because really I'm 43 now, and the work intensely on this really probably only started in my early 30s.
mm-hmm.
So I spent more time in that than out of that. And even though it's less of a problem, every now and then, I do get feelings of guilt or even shame, as we talked about, that I have to bounce out of really quickly if I feel that, I can't be there for someone, right? Or I can't be, can't support. I've got family on the other side of the world, and I see them not very often. And so, if they're not well or they need me, it sometimes can be hard, right? It can be hard not to be there. And then, I have to bounce back, to have the big picture of, okay, well, what's the real purpose of my life here? And are they benefiting? Which is yes. But of course, those feelings, when it comes to the people I love the most, as I said, like people are my biggest joy, but they can also be my biggest challenge.
They're your Achilles heel.
Yeah, because I feel very deeply, right? I'm very empathic. And so that's my challenge is to master the I feel everything from everyone, and that's okay. And so my stress often comes from if I'm not careful, I can absorb what other people are feeling, because I care so much, and then that's not protecting me, right? And it's not as often as it used to be, but every now and then I'll let my guard down a little bit, and I'll be too empathetic.
And then
And
you need to
that's
like be a hermit for 3 days straight. It's like,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. And so that still crops up. It does still crop up. And so for me, the stress and anxiety really is only to do with that, emotional turbulence and me. And it's not me wanting to fix, but me wanting to support, right? And not wanting people to be sad unnecessarily.
I relate to that very deeply. I live away from my family. My family's on the East Coast, and my dad he has a neurological condition very similar to Parkinson's. And every time I FaceTime with my father or I even think about him, I just get overwhelmed. It can knock me out. It can knock me out once a day if I let it. You know what I mean? Because when I'm very close to my father, and I've had to I've been back in therapy, and I've been working with my therapist to really work on where do other people end and where do I begin, and
Exactly.
where am I feeling somebody
Yeah.
else's emotions versus my own emotions. And one of
Right.
the kind of say it out loud moments with myself I've had to really have with myself is like when I'm feeling a certain way, I have to ask myself, are these my feelings? Are these actually mine? Or this is
Yes.
what I'm programmed to think I should feel? Should I really be feeling guilt right now? Or am I actually just good on my own? And it's been a hard pill to swallow because my worst fear is that I'm going to become this cold person because I'm far from it. But when,
Yeah.
similar to you, when I do feel all the things, I get so overwhelmed that I have to go cold. I feel like I
Right.
have to cut
And
off.
it's interesting how we assume it's an on or off switch
Yeah,
rather than
no.
a dial, rather than a dial.
Yeah.
Like, how if I can dial it back enough that, okay, now I'm not in the emotion, I feel it. It's a
Hmm.
little bit like, if I flick myself in the face, I can feel that, but it's not penetrating the skin,
Yeah.
right? But if I get a knifing like that, it's going to penetrate. So I can feel it, but it's not having any negative impact on my energy. What's that dial back?
Because
You
it's
know?
not as easy as a switch. I like the dialing back because it's not as extreme, and I actually don't think that's healthy because it's very extreme, and
Yeah,
that,
I mean, from like a nervous system perspective, it's either fight or flight or rest and digest. We want to try and find that nice, flow where we are feeling. all the feels, and yet we have that ability to respond from our higher self.
Absolutely. That's why we say it out loud, because we all have that ability to be able to tap into that guidance inside of us. And so we have
Yeah.
that ability to access that at any point. Yeah, we are like kindred spirits. I didn't realize. I think I remember you saying once that you're a very deep feeler. You don't hear men saying that very often out loud.
No, and I think a lot of men are though, and it's that's why there are a lot of men that have trouble with their buried emotions. I mean, I've had two friends of mine commit suicide since I've been alive for the same reason, not being able to express their emotions, and it's a challenge. And I would, that's one of the things, one of the intentions I have in life is to really allow men to know that it's an extremely strong and incredible thing to be to allow your emotions to be there, right? To know that it's actually a very strong trait to be vulnerable.
So with that, what's something you can say as many things as you want? What's something like just fabulous and amazing about yourself?
Fabulous, amazing about myself. I would say I'm very I have the ability to understand anyone, even if I don't like them.
Yes.
I can understand why people are the way they are, right? So it's other than say the very closest people to me, because that's slightly different. It's very hard to upset me because I get it, right? And I remember it's a trait I had even from very, very young. I remember my parents, especially my dad, used to be very upset with me because if he was complaining about someone that was, did something, my initial response would be, oh well, maybe they just were like this, or maybe this. I would immediately go to compassion. And it wasn't an avoidance or a bypass. It literally is that I have the ability to understand that when people are in pain, they can have this terrible side can come out. That doesn't mean they'll ever not have that. Doesn't mean they'll ever be able to be a nice person if they don't do the work, of course. So it doesn't mean that I love and even like everyone, but I have the ability to understand everyone. I don't think the word hate really comes into my life
Right.
internally.
I've never actually said this out loud, so let me just say it today. When Saddam Hussein was hanged, he was hung publicly. My mother and I cried. And my dad and sister were like, "What's wrong with you? Like, what he's like, he's an awful human being." I go, "Yeah, but like, he's still a human being, and no one just turns out to be a world leader terrorist, right? No,
Like,
no one's born.
no baby was
Yeah,
born.
no baby was
Right.
born that way." And like, I've never said this out loud because like people will think like, "Oh yeah, you're like pro terrorism." It's like, no, I'm not. He's still a human being at the end of the day. Like my mom and I cried, and they thought because I understand, and I think that's why I went into social work as well, because it's like I understand people who do awful things, and just because you do an awful thing doesn't make you an awful person. You know what I mean? Like you can separate the action from the person.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a beautiful quality to have. And one of the things that I'm learning in this season, and I don't know if you can relate to this, is like I've often shown more empathy to other people than I've shown to myself. So I'm really in a season of like, let me be as empathetic to myself as I am with other
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Like,
that's really, really important for sure. Let's just be clear, like just because someone has grown to be someone that has been infected by such dark energy that they show up in a bad way, that doesn't mean that they're not, they're not free from, having to pay for their crimes, right?
mhm.
Or having to, but it's like it's still recognizing the humanity, right? And I think what's really important, what I've learned is someone with a huge amount of compassion and empathy is that I still have to make sure that the guardian within me is doing its job. It's like, I understand you, but you stay back.
You can have empathy
All
and
right.
have those boundaries. And this
You
is
can have empathy and have boundaries. So, so important for everyone out there, right? Really, really important. You can forgive doesn't mean you're justifying.
And I think that's why people struggle with forgiveness, because they think, oh, if I forgive you, that means that what you did was okay. No, it just means I'm sick of holding on to this.
I'm sick of holding on to it. Spot on, right? And
Yeah,
that, normally people that struggle to forgive is because they struggle to forgive themselves.
Spot on.
right? So
Right. Yeah.
if everyone listening to this podcast was to ask themselves, have I forgiven myself for everything that I've ever judged myself for doing wrong?
Can you say that again, James? I just need to like cement that in. Let's say that again.
If everyone listening could ask themselves, have I forgiven myself for everything that I've ever judged myself for doing wrong?
I have not. If I'm being completely honest, there's like a few things. It's not a lot. I've done a
Well,
lot
let
of.
me ask you this question then.
Yeah.
So without having to say what those things are,
Yeah.
if who's someone in your life that you really love?
Um. Why am I struggling with this question? Okay. I love my mother.
Right. If your mother did one of those things, could you forgive her?
Absolutely.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. I'm gonna cry. I feel like crying right now. I'm not going to. We got an interview to get to.
And there's always this answer. You can forgive your mother for doing that thing, but you haven't forgiven yourself for doing that thing. So here's what I suggest for everyone, right? I'm not a therapist. Let's just get this clear.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of mending relationships with yourself,
Mm-hmm.
The way I look at this as a compassionate person, I think, okay, can I go back to that person that I was then, and can I just be compassionate with them? What was going on in their life, how they were thinking, what they were dealing with, why they made the decision to act or say or do whatever it is that they did. And I'm not justifying any actions, but can I just forgive them and say, I understand, it's okay.
That is, see, God, James, the way you said that, and if we're turning this towards ourselves, absolutely, I can understand why I did the things that I did. Period. That's so much. I think forgiving can feel like a very emotionally charged word, right? Like, but can I understand? So for everyone listening, ask yourselves one thing that you're holding on to. Can you understand at the time when you did the thing that you did, why you did it? And if you can at least understand, then you can begin to forgive, right? You can soften a little bit with yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know that this is something that we both are very passionate about talking about. So I would love to ask you what's something you've been wanting to say, or what's something that you've been saying out loud most recently in your life?
Yeah, and I guess with everything we've been talking about in this podcast, it's kind of relevant. And that is the statement simple as it's selfish to put others first. It is selfish to put others first.
Let's take a quick break.
Having been in therapy since the age of 12, I know firsthand just how powerful the process of finding the right therapist is. Going to therapy and talking things out with my therapist has made me happier, clearer, and most importantly, I have a plan for my mental health. I have tools to be able to communicate with others, and also the tools to cope when life gets hard, which it does. So let me ask you a question. Is something interfering with your happiness or preventing you from achieving your goals? Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or if you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with the therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp, HELP.com/Vasavi. That's betterhelp.com/Vasavi. Clicking that link helps support this podcast, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp, so you can connect with the therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing out about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. I don't know where I would be without the help of therapy and my therapist, but I do know that life would feel that much harder. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Vasavi. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this podcast. I just want to have a pause so everyone can hear that, right? Like we don't ever hear that. We hear it is selfish to put yourself first, and you're saying it is selfish to put others first. Tell me why you've been thinking about this recently. Like, what's
Right. Well, this has been for a while, to be honest with you, but I'll tell you why. So having been a coach for 7 or 8 years, and having been a coach to a lot of amazing driven women, that are mothers or wives, if we want to be, and all of these women want to be great mothers, they want to be great partners, they want to be great business owners, they want to be great leaders, they want to be great for their clients and their team and everyone that they want to be great for others. Right? How can you be great? How can you be your best for others if you're putting others first? So if I wake up in the morning and my attention immediately goes to other people before I fueled myself, I can't be my best for others. And so you've got to ask yourself, do my kids deserve me the best that I can be that day, right? Not the best possible, the best I can be that day. If the answer is yes, then would you be more likely to be better that day if you were to just spend 30, 40 minutes doing what you need to do to be fueled? Even if that's literally hydrating, stretching, having a meditation, reading a book, going for a walk on your own, giving yourself some space, so that when you're in service, you are a better version of you. Therefore, if you put yourself first, who then shows up for everyone else in your life gets a better version of you.
I love that the things that you're suggesting for people to do, it's like you're saying leave less than an hour, right? 30 to 40 minutes dedicated just for you before you start, focusing your energy and your time on other people. I'm single and I don't have kids. And I've always told my father, I am a 24/7 job. Think about that, right? Like we think that just because we don't have, I've always thought that I should selfish. I have felt selfish in my life, spending so much energy on myself, right? And I have felt selfish in the past. But now when I look at it, I say to myself, I'm here to do big things in this world. I got to give myself that energy. I got to give myself that attention. And so with the women that you work with who are moms or even if they're not moms, right? How do you help them really just see the value of putting themselves first? And what have you found commonly works for the women that you work with, those first steps to actually start to carve out time for them?
With any new behavior, right? We've got to feel evidence that it's going to work, right? It's the same with, say, like a gym routine. When we start seeing evidence from our efforts, it's easier to be motivated to keep going, right? Same in your business. As soon as you start to see the money coming in, I'm going to be more motivated to go harder on that strategy. And so it's what's the baby step? What's something that we can do that's going to give you evidence that spending more time on yourself is going to benefit all those other people that you're putting first?
So there are different currencies, right, of evidence. For some people, it's money. For some people, it's feeling good.
Yeah.
I will openly admit this. I can be lazy as hell. I mean, James, I'm a Taurus. I can. That's not an excuse, but I can just sit on my ass and not do anything. I've recently started working out at Barry's Boot Camp. Look at that. And every single day, 6 days a week working out. And the numbers on the scale haven't really changed, right? I'm building more muscle. When I look in the mirror, I feel trimmer, but my evidence is the endorphin rush, the dopamine hit, the feeling good. So would you say that evidence is going to vary from person to person?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm a believer that there is no set strategy or recipe for anyone, personally or in their business, right? And that's the beauty of life. I sometimes feel like I'm a chef and I have a pantry full of ingredients, and every recipe for every person is going to be different. So yeah, we've got to get to know each other. We've got to find out, okay, what makes you tick? And that we can find that out pretty quick. And then it's like, okay, what can we do to gain evidence in that area? So it might be this week. Can you this week just try this thing? If it's, that 30 minutes for yourself. Oh, but James, as soon as I get up, I have to do this thing. Okay, we'll get up 30 minutes earlier, right? Whatever it is. There's easy to come up with excuses, but it's even easier to come up with solutions. So we'll come up with something just for a week. Just try this for a week. Right? And consciously measure it. Do it, journal. And you will notice some kind of difference. And then we can go build from that. right? We can just build from it. And so once we've got evidence, then we can go really hardcore on a strategy that's going to change everything. But I found that when it's habitual behavior, especially habitual behavior that's driven by shame, guilt, or family patterns, we really need evidence that almost backs up, that almost we know in our minds is going to be okay with those old family patterns, because really the family patterns were make sure that those people that you love are safe, which is a wonderful thing. But the way in which we do that is flawed, because they're not going to be safe if you're exhausted, because your ability to respond is going to be compromised.
What I love about this conversation is that you are hitting all the nuances, right? If it was that easy to create new habits, everyone would do it. And it's not that simple. It is, we have to take into account, like what you said, these family patterns and our conditioning. And it's not, I mean, like, I just want everyone hearing, like, don't beat yourself up if it's been hard for you to start building those habits, because it's not, it is simple, right? It's simple, but not easy. And the reason why it's not easy is because we have so much other conditioning that we have to unlearn in order to realize that it's selfish to put other people first, as you said, So
right, exactly. So we start with, can you understand the theory at least? Can everyone listening just understand the theory that if you were happier and had more energy, you would be able to deal with more in your life. You would be able to, be more present with the people that you love. You'd be able to deal with any of their challenges. You'd be able to make better decisions in your life, in your professional life. That makes sense, right? If you had more energy and you were happier, you would have more bandwidth for the world. Mm-hmm. That's obvious. So how do we get more energy and more bandwidth? Well, that's a physiological and psychological task. So where physiologically and psychologically am I bleeding energy? Let's identify those things and remove them or change them. Mm-hmm. And normally it just starts with self-attention. It's like me paying attention to me. Because a lot of people are suffering with physical and mental pain. It's become so normal, they don't even notice it anymore.
I actually just wrote this in my upcoming book. Y'all, say it out loud. If you're not on the wait list, go to vasavikumar.com/waitlist. I just wrote this. Now I don't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, I was going to say, I just have to do my shameless plug. It's my podcast. I'm going to say what I want. Listen, I was going to say that in my book, what I wrote is we're stuck in these patterns. They're so familiar. They're painfully familiar, but at least they're familiar. And that's the thing. When people are like, I know I shouldn't be doing this. Logically, I know. I go, yeah, but in your body, you're so used to feeling like shit. For lack of a better word, you're so used to being tired. You're so used to feeling like just lethargic. It's become your norm. Right? That's become your normal. And so what I hear you saying is like, we've just become used to that pattern, and it's just, that little bit of resistance. Like, how do you work with people on that? Like, what do you
There's got to be evidence. We've got to try. So here's a really simple thing everyone can do.
Yeah.
Like the simplest thing.
Okay.
Right? No matter what your career, no matter how you spend your days, set an alarm on your phone for every 50 minutes in the hour, right? When that alarm goes off, spend 5 minutes, just 5 minutes, undoing whatever you were doing in the last hour. So if you were sitting down, stand up, move around, hydrate, be present, look out the window, use your perspective, and just spend 5 minutes an hour on you, right? Because a lot of the time we're sat down, bad for the posture. We're staring at a bright light screen, bad for your eyes. We're not breathing enough because, it's interesting how the body works. Like if I ran down the street, my body would say, oh, your muscles need more oxygen. It will make you out of breath and you'll breathe harder. When you're thinking hard, you don't breathe harder, right? So I think it's a human flaw. So you need oxygen. A lot of the time when we're tired, it's not that it's we're dehydrated and haven't got enough oxygen in our body. Those two things are free and they're easy to get, right? So every 50 minutes, set an alarm, spend a few minutes just hydrating, moving your body, looking out the window, maybe step outside if you can, do some deep breath work, okay? Maybe just close your eyes and get present for a few minutes. Do that every hour and you notice how different you feel at like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon when you normally have a crash. You notice. Game changer.
Simple, not easy, people. That's really what I want to highlight something amazing about you, okay? What I love about you so much. I'm a very logical person. I'm also very emotional, right? But when it comes to habit changing, when it comes to creating new habits, right? Like I jokingly say that I've been sitting on my butt for the past 3 years. I've now because, life. In the past 3 weeks, I have been working out every single day, 7:15 in the morning. I go to Barry's boot camp downtown, and my friends are like, "How did you just flip the switch?" I go, "I was sick and tired. I was just that's how I operate, right? I operate by I'm like, I'm done. When I'm done with myself, I'm just done, and I'm like, and then I'm like, okay, it's go time. What I love, and so I have a tendency to complicate things. I do when it comes to like creating new habits. It's like, oh, but what about this? What about this? What I love about your approach is that it's doable. Anybody can set their alarm every 50 minutes and take 5 minutes to undo what they were doing. So if you were staring at a computer screen, go outside and stare at the beautiful sky. Just stare at a cloud. Like, oh my God, how beautiful is that? If you were listening to your clients talk to you, listen to some nice calming music or just sit in silence, right? I love that I love that because I'm very much a sensory person. So it's like, you've been staring at this. Why don't we stare at something else that's a little bit more that's not so like techie, like just being out in nature and whatever. I love your ability to be able to take the things that most human beings resist and just simplify the heck out of it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because it can get complicated. But the complicated stuff, when you're motivated and you're starting to see the benefits, and you'll notice this with your workouts, right? Start simple, and then once you're seeing the benefits stuff, well, I want to go and do like taekwondo, and I want to go and do backflips and all these things that are a bit more technical. But you need the base of, oh, I see now it's happening, the benefit. Like it's sales. That's all it is. It's personal sales.
I need to sell myself on it, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. That voice in my mind that was like even considered skipping a day of working out is almost non-existent at this time. I woke up today at around 6:30. I was just a little tired from the night before, and I was like, there was just a tiny little voice that's like, you could cancel. You just get a $20 fee. And there's a voice in my head that was like, absolutely not. Get up and let's go. Like, because I feel like 3 weeks was a good enough time for me. Like, I've set this foundation. It feels good. I'm feeling good in my body. I'm loving what I'm looking like. I'm loving what I'm feeling like. I don't want to go back to the way I used to feel. I just want to keep soaring. So it's just give yourself a chance is what I think, at the end of the day.
Give yourself a chance and keep it simple. Like even what you just said, we're going to have a habit in place that if I ever get that voice, just always promise yourself you'll stick your sneakers on and leave the house, and don't promise yourself anymore.
Wait, say that one more time. I want to hear that again.
If you ever wake up feeling like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Right. Even simpler than, come on, you just do this. Because that's a little bit like an obligation bully voice, right? Mm-hmm. Just always promise yourself from day one that at the very least you'll put your sneakers on and you'll just leave the house. Just promise yourself that.
I love that. I actually keep my sneakers right on the second floor. So when I'm walking down the stairs, I'm looking at my sneakers. So I literally sit on the stairs and I do that because, and this is really why it's so important to know yourself, right? Like you got to know how you let yourself off the hook. I know, like, if I don't have my workout clothes out, if I can't see it, I will avoid it. Right. So I keep the workout clothes right on my bed.
You know yourself, and now you know how to sell to yourself. You know how to look after yourself because your recipe is different. It's just what we said, right?
Your recipe is different. I love that. Well, James, I would like to ask you one last question. Two last questions. What is something that you want to encourage my audience to say more of out loud to themselves?
I would like your audience to out loud to themselves in the mirror say two things. I love you and you're worth it.
You're a simple man, and I love it. It's just like, I love the simplicity in which you are helping us be kinder to ourselves, be more encouraging with ourselves. It doesn't.
Let's think about it, right? If you 100% looked in the mirror and you felt the love of yourself and you believed that you were worth it, imagine what you would do. Imagine what you would go for. Imagine those things that you dream about, but you're like, that's for someone else. Imagine if you had that kind of courage and self-belief, what you would do, the conversations you would have, the people that you would bring, right? The investments that you would make. the kind of like, I'm going to go for it stuff that you would, and all it takes is love and self-worth. It's all it takes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Y'all know when I'm like, when I'm really listening to what someone's saying, I don't have an immediate response. I'm like soaking it in. So I'm like, wait, shit, I'm the host of this podcast. Let me keep going. James, yeah, no, I'm just soaking it in. Thank you. And then lastly, well, two last questions. Is there anything you would like to shamelessly self-promote here on the Say It Out Loud podcast today?
Shamelessly self-promote. So, I mean, where I'm going, I mean, I love one-on-one work, but it's something that I don't do that much of. You know, it's really for people that are super, super committed. What I really love doing is working with communities. So one thing I'm doing over the next year is it's called my high performance plugin. I'm plugging in to companies that have communities that don't have a coach that works on things that I work at, like high performance. And so as I've been doing it for my wife's company for years, you know, being a part of that syllabus and supporting their clients to implement faster, be happier, more successful is beneficial for those companies. So that's what I'm doing. I've probably got another 3 spots left. You know, I'm going to do some work with maybe a total of a certain number of companies. And so yeah, I'm looking for amazing communities. And so one way, what I'm doing is, so they understand what I do, I will do a free 60 to 90 minute training for any community, if I've got spots left, so that they can feel that benefit immediately. So if anyone's interested in getting me training their community for 60 to 90 minutes live on Zoom, you can apply. So just email me at james at thegrowthedge.com.
And if people want to connect with you directly, we've had, you know, people that come on the podcast, and I know our audience often loves to like send a DM or send a voice note saying we loved. How can people, you know, connect with you?
Yeah, they can email me at james at thegrowthedge.com. Or they can go to thegrowthedge.com website, where you've got my social media links, and you can message me however you like. Say hi.
Well, James, I want to say thank you so much. I feel really, really lucky and blessed that I can, you know, if I'm having another meltdown, I can text you. But no more meltdowns, okay? Because we got it. We are doing good. We are being intentional. We are getting out of shame. I just want to say thank you. Like I feel very blessed to know you and your wife, Emily. And Emily, everyone is going to be on the podcast in September, actually. So just be on the lookout. Yeah. Oh my God. She has a way of just saying like a one-liner, and I'm like, why'd you have to do that?
Yeah, she's a superstar. Your audience are going to love her. She's
the way she is. She's definitely been. We haven't had many in-depth conversations, but the ones that we've had, like I haven't talked to her for a very like long extended period of time, but the ones that we've had, she has completely like, you know, just like you, she has had the ability to just kind of shift the way I'm thinking about something in a moment, and it's just clean. It's just clean, simple, like not complicated, and I love that because. Yeah, so can't wait to have her on. I want to say thank you so much for taking the time today and being on the Say It Out Loud podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. It's amazing. You know, you're such fun and deep and fun. It's such an amazing balance. And so it's been a pleasure. And I'm sure, you know, your audience will love everything that you're doing.
Thanks, James.
And I love your emotion. And that's why you're on this emotional kind of like ride. It's so wonderful. You have so much passion and energy. And you know, I think that's a wonderful trait. Never change.
Thank you, James. If you love today's episode, then say it out loud. Subscribe, leave a review, and come say hi over on Instagram at My Name is Vasavi. Until next time, say it out loud.